Hello and welcome to this video on how to install WordPress manually. Now in the last video we reviewed how to install WordPress with just 3 clicks. In this video we'll review how to install WordPress manually using FTP and going to wordpress.org and getting the website. Now you're going to need a few things to get this done. You're going to need your FTP login info and your cPanel login info. If you followed from our previous videos, those two would be the same thing. If you just need to learn how to install WordPress manually, then you're definitely going to need to know what's your FTP and your cPanel login. Now the first thing you're going to do is go to wordpress.org and click download WordPress. This is going to get you the latest copy of WordPress. It's going to download to your desktop or wherever your browser saves files you download off the internet. You're going to need to unzip that file. So wherever it's downloaded, find it and unzip it. So now that you have your unzipped file that you downloaded off of wordpress.org, it's time to go to your FTP client, into your server, and upload those files straight into your root folder. The next thing you're going to want to do is open your FTP client. File Transfer Protocol is what FTP stands for. If you don't know what FTP is, please take a look at our FTP video to understand all about FTP and how to set FTP up. After you log into your FTP, your site should look something like this. You should find a folder that's called public HTML. Public HTML is basically where all your public files are stored in your FTP or your server. If you don't understand what this is, please take a look at our FTP video to understand more about working with FTP. So we'll just go into public HTML folder, and in this case we already have an install of WordPress, and this is WordPress's files. But in this website's case, I'm creating a new folder to install a fresh install of WordPress. So I'll go ahead and create a folder and I'll call it launch. Click on your folder, it's a blank folder. Then I'm going to drag all the files I just downloaded from WordPress straight into this folder. And by the magic of computer animation, everything is done. The next thing we need to do is create a new database user and a new database account. Let's go ahead and do those things together. The first thing you'll need to do is log into your cPanel. So find your cPanel login, which is normally yourwebsite.com/cPanel. After you log into your cPanel, it should look something like this. The next thing you need to do is find databases and scroll to MySQL databases. In this page, we'll create the database user and the database password. Since we're going with the folder launch, I'll go ahead and create a new database and I'll call this launch. Then click create. After my database is created, click go back to access MySQL databases, and it's time to create the user. Scroll down and you'll see MySQL users. Let's create a user called launch with the same theme of the new WordPress install we're doing. And my password. And click create user. So now that we've already created a new database user and we've already created a new database account, we need to link the database with the database user. This part is fairly simple. We go back to MySQL databases and scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see add a user to a database. Find the user we just created and find the database we just created, hit add and click all privileges. Then click make changes. What this is going to do is pair the database with the database user. Now we have in current databases, we have the database that we just created and the database user that we just created. The next thing we need to do is update our config file. Let's go back to the FTP to do that. Now, the next step we need to do is edit our configuration file. This file is normally called wp-config-sample. You need to double click on that or whatever your FTP client does to edit it and remove the word sample. Again, if you don't know how to use FTP, please check our FTP video to learn more about using FTPs. So what you need to do is edit this file. I'm going to right click and hit edit with my FTP client. And what we're looking for is the FTP name, FTP user, and FTP password, which we just created right over here. So I'm just going to copy this, paste my database user name here, and my database user here. And I'm going to type my password and hit save. Now there's one last step. You need to log into your website and finish that install process. So let's go to the directory on your website, which is yourwebsite.com/ my folder that we just created. So my folder was called launch as in website launch. We were launching this new website and I decided to go with launch. So the next thing I'm going to do is enter my website's name. I'm going to create a user and I'm going to give it a password. And I'll put in my email address and I'll click allow search engines to index my site. Click install WordPress. And just like we did in our last video where we installed WordPress with just 3 clicks, as you can see in this video we installed a fresh version of WordPress in just a few minutes, manually creating our own databases and creating our own usernames. So let's go ahead and test this login, see if it's gonna work. Okay guys, now you have the latest version of WordPress installed on your website, ready to go. Here's 2 secret tricks that I'm going to show you. You're not going to see on any other website online. It's going to help monetize your website and help moving you forward in the first steps of using your first WordPress install. What you need to do is click or hover over settings and go to permalinks. Then you're going to click post name. WordPress will automatically add this post name over here and click save changes. But before we save changes, I'll show you what this will do and how this will help your website. Right now, if we go to our new WordPress site at launch and click any URL, you're going to notice that it creates the URL like this with a question mark and P. Search engines like Google, Bing, Yahoo really don't like this type of permalink. So what you need to do is create a post name link. This will basically create a really cool URL link for your website that's search engine friendly and ready for the search engines. So let's go ahead and hit save changes. Let's just go back to the home page and refresh it and click that post again. If you notice on the top, your link just became search engine friendly. And the next thing I advise people to do is create a new user. So to do that, hover or click user, add new. Now here you have it guys, how to install WordPress manually. Now on the next video we'll show you how to install OptimizePress, which works in hand with WordPress. It's the perfect theme for WordPress, and we'll show you how to get list building going on to get your website going. See you on the next video.